Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The vibrant chatter and exuberant laughter of friendships, old and new, filled the living room, blending seamlessly with the soulful strains of soft jazz. Wine glasses clinked, their silhouettes dancing in the warm glow of the amber lights. A group of 6, close-knit, found themselves immersed in a Friday night soiree, surrounded by a litter of playing cards and empty bottles of wine. In their midst, a solitary figure, clad in well-worn denim and a faded gray tee, sat slightly apart, his brown locks and introspective gaze drawing little attention. The man's name was Ben. A voice, melodious and commanding, sliced through the harmonious din. Melissa, a vision in flowing blonde tresses that shimmered in the dimness of the room, leaned back against the couch, cards discarded on the table. Something different, Carson. Something revealing. The other guests exchanged curious glances as Carson shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He had always been the quiet one in their relationship, reserved where Melissa was outgoing, cautious where she was spontaneous. "Truth or dare?" suggested one of their friends. "Too predictable," Melissa replied, standing up suddenly. "I have a better idea. Just give me 5 minutes." She disappeared down the hallway toward their bedroom, leaving Carson with a sense of unease growing in his stomach. When she returned, her arms were laden with clothing, rich fabrics in various colors spilling over her forearms. "What's all this?" Carson asked, eyebrows rising toward his hairline. "Our new game," Melissa announced to the room. "Fashion show roulette." She dumped the clothes onto the empty armchair. "Carson, you're our model tonight." A flush crept up his neck as their friends whistled and applauded. "You can't be serious." "Dead serious," Melissa said, her voice softer as she approached him. She leaned down to whisper in his ear. "Trust me on this one. I think you'll enjoy it more than you're letting on." Something in her tone made his heart skip a beat. Did she know? Had she found his hidden box at the back of the closet? "Fine," he conceded, draining his beer for courage. "But everyone has to vote on their favorite outfit, and the loser has to do dishes for a week." "Deal." Melissa grinned triumphantly. The first outfit she handed him was simple enough, a flowing red skirt paired with a black blouse. Carson retreated to the bathroom, his hands trembling slightly as he closed the door behind him. Alone with the clothes, he hesitated only briefly before stripping off his jeans. The skirt's silky material whispered against his skin as he pulled it up over his hips. The blouse buttoned easily across his chest, its fabric cool and lightweight. He stared at his reflection, transfixed by the transformation already taking place. His brown hair, cut in a conventional short style, seemed at odds with the feminine clothes, but something about the contrast felt right. A knock at the door startled him. "Everything okay in there?" Melissa called. "Coming," he replied, his voice catching. When he emerged, the room fell silent. Carson stood awkwardly in the doorway, one hand clutching the doorframe for support. "Give us a twirl!" one of their friends finally called out, breaking the tension. Carson rotated slowly, the skirt fanning out around his legs. To his surprise, the expected mockery never came. Instead, there were appreciative murmurs and encouraging smiles. "Not bad at all," Melissa said, appraising him with a nod. "But we're just getting started." The second outfit was more elaborate, a sequined gold cocktail dress that caught the light as he moved. This time, Carson took longer in the bathroom, carefully smoothing the dress over his frame. He emerged with more confidence, even attempting a playful pose that sent their friends into delighted applause. With each new ensemble, Carson felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. The white lace evening gown elicited gasps of admiration. The purple jumpsuit showcased his surprisingly shapely legs. By the time he tried on the 8th outfit, a casual green sundress with a modest cardigan, he was actively enjoying himself, adding small flourishes to his entrances and exits. Then Melissa handed him the baby blue knee-length dress. "This one's special," she said, her eyes holding his for a meaningful moment. "I think it might be perfect for you." Carson took it with careful hands, noticing the quality of the fabric and the delicate detailing around the neckline. Inside the bathroom, he slipped it over his head and felt it settle against his body, as if it had been tailored specifically for him. The color complemented his complexion, and the cut flattered his frame in ways he hadn't thought possible. He stood staring at his reflection for several minutes, barely recognizing the person looking back at him. There was something in his eyes now, a light, a certainty that had been missing before. His brown hair, though still short, somehow looked right with this dress. He could imagine it longer, framing his face, completing the image that felt so authentic. When he finally stepped out, the room went completely silent. Melissa's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes glistening with tears. "Carson," she whispered, "you look beautiful." Something inside him broke open at those words. It wasn't just the dress or the compliment. It was the recognition in her voice, the understanding that went beyond the surface of their game. The fashion show continued, with Carson modeling a total of 15 different outfits. By the end, he moved with a grace and confidence that had been absent at the start. Their friends voted enthusiastically, naming the baby blue dress as the unanimous favorite. As the night wound down and their friends began to depart, Carson found himself still wearing the blue dress, unwilling to change back into his ordinary clothes. When the door closed behind the last guest, he turned to Melissa with his heart in his throat.
"I need to tell you something,"
he said, his fingers smoothing the fabric of the dress nervously. Melissa took his hands in hers. "I'm listening." "This isn't the first time I've worn women's clothes." The confession tumbled out, unplanned and raw. "I've been cross-dressing for years, in secret, when you're at work or visiting your parents. I have a whole collection hidden in that old storage box in the back of our closet." Melissa's lips curved into a small smile. "I know, Carson." His eyes widened. "You know?" "I found your things months ago. I wasn't snooping, I was looking for my winter boots." She squeezed his hands. "At first I wasn't sure what to think, but then I started to notice things. How you would look at my clothes, how your eyes would linger on certain styles when we went shopping."
"Why didn't you say anything?"
he asked, his voice barely audible.
"Because it needed to come from you. I didn't want to force you to talk about something you weren't ready to share."
She released his hands to gently touch his face. "That's why I planned tonight. I wanted to create a space where you might feel comfortable enough to open up." Carson felt tears threatening.
"And you're okay with it?" "More than okay. I love you. All of you. Including the part of you that feels at home in this dress." She paused, studying his face. "Is there something else you want to tell me? Something about who you are when you wear these clothes?"
The question hung in the air between them, fraught with possibility. Carson closed his eyes, summoning courage from some previously untapped reserve. When I'm dressed like this, I don't feel like I'm pretending or playing a role. I feel like I'm finally being honest. He opened his eyes to meet her gaze.
In my mind, I've started thinking of myself as Olivia.
Rather than shock or confusion, Melissa's face showed only tender recognition. Olivia, she repeated, testing the name. It suits you. You think so? Carson, now Olivia, asked with fragile hope. I do, and I think Olivia has been waiting a long time to be acknowledged. Melissa tucked a strand of brown hair behind Olivia's ear. Would you like to be Olivia more often? Or maybe always? The question sent a shiver of both terror and liberation through her. I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start. We'll figure it out together, Melissa promised. One step at a time. That night, Olivia slept in the blue dress, afraid that changing out of it would somehow break the spell of acceptance that had been cast. Melissa held her close, whispering reassurances until sleep claimed them both. The next morning brought the harsh light of reality. Olivia stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying her reflection with new eyes. The short brown hair, the stubble beginning to show on her chin, the masculine angles of her face, all at odds with the person she felt herself to be, with the blue dress now wrinkled from sleep. Melissa found her there, lost in thought. Second thoughts? She asked gently. Olivia shook her head. Not about who I am, just overwhelmed by everything that comes next. Let's start small, Melissa suggested. What would help you feel more like Olivia today? The question was simple, but profound. Olivia considered it carefully. I'd like to keep wearing feminine clothes, and maybe you could help me with some makeup? Just something subtle. Melissa's face lit up. I'd love to. And your hair? Would you like to grow it out? Yes, Olivia said, touching her short brown locks. I've always wanted longer hair. The day unfolded in a series of small revelations. Melissa helped Olivia select an outfit from her own closet, a casual navy blue dress with a cinched waist and knee-length hem. They spent an hour in the bathroom as Melissa demonstrated basic makeup techniques, explaining foundation and mascara with patient detail. You're taking this incredibly well, Olivia remarked, as Melissa applied a subtle rose lipstick to her lips. I love you, Melissa said simply. And honestly, I suspected this might be coming. There's always been something in your eyes when you look at certain clothes, a longing you couldn't quite hide. I tried so hard to keep it secret. I know, but love sees what fear tries to conceal. Melissa stepped back to admire her handiwork. There, what do you think? Olivia turned to the mirror and caught her breath. The makeup wasn't dramatic, but it softened her features, bringing out her eyes and giving her face a gentler aspect. Combined with the dress, the effect was transformative. I look like me, she whispered. The me I've always seen in my mind. They spent the weekend in a cocoon of exploration and planning. Melissa suggested they start by telling their closest friends, the ones who had been present for the fashion show, before gradually widening the circle. What about work? Olivia asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. She had built a solid career as a graphic designer at a mid-sized marketing firm. The thought of jeopardizing that stability was terrifying. One bridge at a time, Melissa counseled. Let's focus on building your confidence first. The rest will follow. On Sunday evening, they invited their friends back for dinner. Olivia greeted them at the door wearing a forest green wrap dress, her makeup subtle but effective, her short brown hair styled as femininely as its length would allow. "Everyone," Melissa announced after they had settled in the living room, "I'd like to introduce you to Olivia." A beat of silence followed, during which Olivia felt her heart hammering against her ribs. Then her friend Emma rose from the couch and approached her with open arms. "It's lovely to meet you, Olivia," she said, embracing her warmly. One by one, their friends followed suit, each greeting Olivia with genuine smiles and acceptance. There were questions, of course, careful, respectful inquiries about her journey and plans. Olivia answered as honestly as she could, finding strength in Melissa's steadfast presence beside her. "I'm still figuring things out," she explained. "But I know that this is who I am, who I've always been, beneath the surface." "The blue dress was the turning point, wasn't it?" asked Daniel, who had been observing quietly. "We all saw it. Something changed when you put that on." Olivia nodded. "It was like looking in a mirror and finally seeing myself clearly." As the weeks passed, Olivia's transformation continued in measured steps. She began growing out her hair, enduring the awkward in-between stages with Melissa's encouragement. Her wardrobe expanded gradually, each new piece carefully selected to suit her developing style, feminine but understated, with a preference for dresses and skirts that made her feel most authentic. The question of work loomed larger as her appearance evolved. 3 months after that fateful party, with her brown hair now brushing her shoulders and her confidence growing daily, Olivia decided it was time to take the next step. She arranged a meeting with her direct supervisor, Catherine, a woman known for her fairness and progressive outlook. "I've been going through some personal changes," Olivia explained, seated across from Catherine in her office. She was wearing a conservative navy blue pencil skirt and cream blouse, her makeup minimal but present. "I'm transitioning to live as a woman. My name is Olivia now." Catherine's expression remained professional, though her eyes registered surprise. "I appreciate you sharing this with me, Olivia. What can I do to support you through this process?" The response was so matter-of-fact, so devoid of judgment, that Olivia felt tears threatening. "I'd like to start presenting as female at work, gradually if possible, and eventually I'd like my name and pronouns to be updated in the company directory." "We can certainly arrange that. I'll need to consult with HR about the formal process, but I don't anticipate any issues." Catherine leaned forward slightly. "Your work has always been exceptional. That's what matters here." The transition at work proceeded with remarkably little drama. There were curious glances and whispered conversations that ceased when Olivia entered a room, but no outright hostility. A few colleagues awkwardly avoided her for the first week, but most followed Catherine's lead, treating Olivia with the same professional courtesy they had always shown. 6 months after the party that had changed everything, Olivia stood in front of her full-length mirror, hardly recognizing the person she had been before. Her brown hair now fell past her shoulders in soft waves, framing a face that had grown subtly softer with hormone therapy. She wore a knee-length lavender dress, a birthday gift from Melissa, that complemented her evolving figure. "Ready for dinner?" Melissa asked, appearing in the doorway. "Almost." Olivia applied a final touch of lip gloss. "Do you think my parents will recognize me?" Tonight would be the first time she would see her parents since beginning her transition. They had been informed by phone, a difficult conversation that had ended with cautious acceptance rather than the rejection Olivia had feared. but this would be their first face-to-face meeting with their daughter. "They'll see you," Melissa assured her. "The real you." The restaurant was elegant, but not ostentatious, a neutral ground Olivia had chosen carefully. She spotted her parents at a corner table, her father looking uncomfortable in a suit jacket, her mother's hands nervously folding and refolding her napkin. Olivia approached with Melissa at her side, her heart pounding. Her mother saw her first, eyes widening in recognition. She stood immediately, her expression a complex mixture of surprise and emotion. "Carson?" she said hesitantly, then quickly corrected herself. "I mean, Olivia." "Hi, Mom," Olivia replied, her voice caught between tears and laughter. Her mother stepped forward and, after a moment's hesitation, embraced her. "You look beautiful," she whispered. Her father remained seated, his face unreadable. When Olivia turned to him, he cleared his throat awkwardly.
"This is going to take some getting used to,"
he said gruffly. "I know," Olivia acknowledged. "I appreciate you being here." Dinner proceeded with careful conversation. Her parents stumbled over pronouns occasionally, but made visible efforts to correct themselves. They asked tentative questions about her transition, listening with evident effort to understand.
"Are you happy?"
her father asked suddenly, interrupting a discussion about hormone therapy.
"That's what I need to know. Are you happier now?"
The question cut through the tension like a knife. Olivia looked at him directly, saw the genuine concern beneath his discomfort. "Yes," she said simply.
"I am."
He nodded once, decisively.
"Then that's what matters."
The evening ended with tentative plans for a visit home during the upcoming holidays. As they parted outside the restaurant, her mother hugged her again, longer this time. "You're still our child," she said firmly.
"That hasn't changed."
On the drive home, Olivia was quiet, processing the evening. "They're trying," Melissa observed. "That's a good start." "Better than I expected," Olivia agreed. "Dad actually called me she once. I nearly fell out of my chair." They laughed together, the sound filling the car with warmth. A year to the day after the fashion show party, Melissa organized a celebration at their apartment. The same friends who had witnessed Olivia's first tentative steps into her authentic self gathered to mark the anniversary. Olivia wore the baby blue dress, altered slightly to better fit her changing body, but recognizably the same garment that had catalyzed her transformation. Her brown hair, now falling midway down her back, was styled in loose curls. There was a confidence in her posture that had been absent a year ago, a comfort in her own skin that radiated from within. "Speech!" called out Emma, as Melissa presented a cake decorated with a single candle. Olivia looked around at the circle of friends who had supported her journey, then at Melissa, whose love had never wavered. "A year ago, I was living half a life," she began. "I had sealed away a crucial part of myself, convinced that revealing it would cost me everything I valued. My relationship, my friends, my family, my career." She took Melissa's hand. "Instead, when I finally found the courage to step into the light, I discovered that authenticity doesn't diminish connection. It deepens it." She raised her glass. "To all of you who saw me, even when I was hiding, and especially to Melissa, who somehow knew exactly what I needed before I could admit it to myself." "To Olivia," Melissa responded, lifting her own glass, "who was always here, just waiting to be recognized." Later that night, After their friends had departed and the apartment was quiet, Olivia found Melissa on their small balcony, gazing up at the stars. "I've been thinking," Olivia said, joining her in the cool night air, "about that first night when you arranged the fashion show." "What about it?" Melissa turned, her face illuminated by the soft glow from the kitchen window. "You said you found my hidden clothes months before, but the blue dress, the one that changed everything, that wasn't mine. You bought it specifically for that night, didn't you?" Melissa smiled enigmatically. "I might have done a little shopping." "How did you know it would be perfect? That it would be the one to break through all my defenses?" "I didn't know for certain," Melissa admitted. "But I had a feeling. Something about the color, the style. It seemed like it was made for you. For the you I glimpsed sometimes when you thought no one was looking." Olivia reached for her hand. "You saw me before I could see myself." "I saw someone beautiful trying to emerge," Melissa corrected gently. "I just wanted to help clear the path." They stood together in comfortable silence, the city sounds muffled by distance. Olivia thought about the journey of the past year, the challenges and triumphs, the awkward moments and surprising joys. She thought about the path still ahead, with its unknown obstacles and possibilities. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't organized that party?" she asked. "If you hadn't given me that opportunity to step outside myself?" Melissa considered the question seriously. "I think you would have found your way eventually. The truth has a way of surfacing, one way or another, but I'm glad it happened when it did, and how it did." She squeezed Olivia's hand. "I'm glad I got to witness your becoming." "My becoming?" Olivia repeated, liking the phrase. "It's still happening, isn't it? Every day." "That's true for all of us," Melissa said. "But, yes, especially for you, right now." Olivia looked down at the blue dress she still wore, the fabric now as familiar to her as her own skin. She remembered the first time she had put it on, the recognition that had flashed through her like lightning. How strange and wonderful that a single garment could unlock a truth so profound, could set in motion a transformation so complete. "Thank you," she said simply. "For the blue dress, for everything that followed." Melissa turned to her, eyes shining in the dim light. "You don't need to thank me for loving you as you are." "No," Olivia agreed. "But I'm grateful anyway." They remained on the balcony until the chill drove them inside. As Olivia prepared for bed, carefully hanging the blue dress in her closet alongside her growing collection of clothes that reflected her true self, she caught her reflection in the mirror. The woman who looked back at her was still evolving, still discovering aspects of herself that had been hidden for too long. But she was undeniably present now, undeniably real. Olivia smoothed her hand over her long brown hair, acknowledging with quiet pride how far she had come. In the bedroom, Melissa was already under the covers, reading glasses perched on her nose as she flipped through a magazine. She looked up as Olivia entered, her face softening with affection. "Happy anniversary," she said. Olivia slipped into bed beside her, feeling the rightness of this moment, this life. "The first of many," she replied. As she drifted toward sleep, Olivia thought about the boxes of men's clothing she had recently donated, the final remnants of a costume she had worn for too many years, Carson's clothes, Carson's life. She had kept a few pieces for practical reasons, but even those felt increasingly foreign to her, artifacts from a previous existence. The last thing she remembered before sleep claimed her was the gentle weight of Melissa's hand resting on hers, an anchor in this new life that was increasingly becoming normal. Not just a fashion show, not just a game, but the truest expression of herself she had ever known. Olivia's journey had only just begun, but she was no longer traveling in disguise. She was moving forward as herself, finally and completely visible. The blue dress had been the key that unlocked the door, but it was Olivia herself who had found the courage to step through it. Into authenticity, into wholeness, into the life that had been waiting for her all along.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!